We were stopped in traffic the other day, and I was with my daughter, and we heard somebody honking behind us, and there was a lot of traffic. And the first reaction my daughter had as she heard this honking, she turned to me and she said, "Dad, why are those people honking at you?" I looked around and I said, "I don't think they're honking at me. There's a stop sign and I'm just stopped." And she goes, "Well, they're honking at somebody, and it's not very nice that they would honk at somebody like that." Now, my daughter's only 8 years old, and so in her brain, somebody that's honking must be honking because they're mad, or because they're trying to get somebody to move out of their way, or whatever the other reasons that we usually assume people are honking. And I asked her a question, and it gave her a little bit of clarity. I said, "Well, Andy, what actually do you know about that person honking?" She said, "Well, they're honking because they're mad at somebody. They're honking because they need to get somebody out of their way." And I said, "Andy, what are the facts?" She said, "Well, the person was honking because," and I said, "Well, wait a second. What are the facts? What do you know?" And she backed up and she said, "Well, I know that they were honking." I'm like, "Do you know because of anything? Do you know why they were honking?" And she thought about it in her head for a little bit, and she came to the conclusion that she didn't know why these people were honking. So I asked her, I said, "Well, that's a story you're telling yourself, that they're honking because they're mad." I said, "Is there any different story that you could tell yourself of why that person might be honking?" She thought for a minute, and she proceeded to tell me a number of different outcomes, a number of different other stories that she could tell herself. One was that maybe they're honking to say hi to somebody. Maybe they were honking to warn somebody of danger. Or maybe they were just honking on accident. And I asked her, I said, "Andy, which one of those stories makes you feel better?" And she said, "Well, probably honking to say hi to somebody." Then we talked about what she knew. And really what it came back down to, again, all she knew is that somebody was honking. You see, as humans, we want to complete stories. When we just hear somebody honking, we want to fill in the gaps of why they were honking. And part of completing the story is giving it meaning. That's how we as humans feel satisfied with stories, is we give them meaning and what it means for us. A lot of times as humans we get into what's called catastrophizing, where we think of worst case scenarios of what this is and we give that the meaning. You see, we choose most of the meaning that is in our lives. We choose the circumstances that we are in, and we choose the meaning that we give them. We choose the meaning of the relationships, we choose the meanings of rejection, we choose meanings of acceptance. We choose meaning most of the time. We are the ones that get to dictate what it means. If you've ever played the game Tetris, there's this thing called the Tetris effect. It's after you get done playing a game of Tetris, you start seeing how everything fits. There might be shapes around you in everyday life that you see how it would fit. When you're packing the stuff inside the fridge from shopping at the grocery store, you start seeing Tetris pieces. When you start to organize a drawer, you start to see Tetris pieces. When you're packing and you're moving to a different location, you're packing your moving truck, you start to see Tetris pieces. This is called the Tetris effect. You get in the habit of, your brain gets in the habit of a certain pattern of thinking, and it wants to put everything into that pattern, which is what's called the Tetris effect. Well, our lives are no different. When we consume ourselves with negative things and we allow negative thoughts to play out in our mind, then what happens when we are given the chance to give stories, to give facts meaning, we a lot of times catastrophize that meaning and what the story that we tell is. We operate on a worst case scenario instead of giving the situation or a person the benefit of the doubt. And so this leaves us in a situation where we're constantly looking on the worst side of things. We're living a life where out of fear and scarcity instead of out of abundance, and out of the best and looking on the bright side of things. So here's 3 questions that you can ask yourselves if you are ever in a situation where you find yourself telling yourself a story that's not empowering to you. That's not that one that doesn't serve you. The first thing is, what are the facts? What do I actually know? Not my opinion about the facts, but what are the actual facts? And then ask yourself again, what else do I know? Make sure you know what the facts are. Question that and know that separate between opinion and fact. What you have left over is the story that you're telling yourself. Ask yourself, what is the story that I'm telling myself? And does it empower me? Is this story that I have made up in my head serving me? Just like I asked my daughter if the story she was telling herself about the honking horn was serving her. And be real there. Don't be so committed to your struggle of thinking that it's got to be bad, to realize the truth of the matter is, and separate the facts from your opinion. And then the third question is what other stories could I tell about these facts? Is there a story that you can tell that would empower you? Is there a story that you could tell that would serve you? If so, I would encourage you to tell that story, because the fact of the matter is you have facts. And if you're gonna fill in the gaps and you're gonna tell yourself a story, you might as well tell yourself one that's empowering.